Preview.
And Wendy, Courtney said something there that I thought was maybe extinct at this point, which was SPAC deal. Maybe talk, like, are they still happening? What does that look like now? Obviously, the equity markets we've kind of seen be a little bit slower lately with the IPO market and whatnot. But what does that look like now?
Yeah, definitely less SPACs since 2021, early 2022. There's a lot of scrutiny on those. Obviously, there were many, many restatements that resulted from the way that warrants were treated. And, the market has been light the last, 16 months, right? But companies are starting to think ahead, like what's 2025 going to look like? Do we go the traditional IPO route? Let's back into when we need to start that. Is it a reverse merger? Is it through a different sort of acquisition? So, I think companies right now are starting to think about that more and more because we learned from the hard lesson of 2021 exactly how long it takes. And, when you ring the bell and become a public company, it doesn't just magically fall into place, right? There's a lot of work that needs to be done from an operational and like a reporting and technical perspective of that. And kind of to Courtney's point about like what we go in transactions, our companies, as you noted, mostly middle market, wide variety of sizes in different parts of the life cycle and things like that. And what's really important for us is to be able to answer whatever questions they have as they grow and as their company changes, right? It could be anything from, and I was just on a call earlier, a company needs to get up to speed with their tax returns, right? And so they need to get an accrual basis of accounting going. So, that's a smaller company, right? All the way up to, we do have these aspirations of going public and we need to have an uplift of our accounting functions.
So you mentioned companies getting ready for 25, maybe with hopefully the market warming up. What does that look like? How do we get involved? How have you been kind of framing things with companies as they start thinking through that?
Yeah, I mean, many of those companies, we've seen their growth potential, right? And know that they are kind of thinking about this, really sitting down and putting together a plan in place as to here's what the next, several months look like. And this is where the gaps are in your organization, because it's really important, Tom, that they realize it's not just accounting, right? It's FP&A, it's treasury, it's investor relations, it's all the gamut. And so while Armanino can help out with many of those functions, it's important for them to see the gap so they can start planning ahead there.
And what about ERP, right? I know back at 21, everyone was trying to go kind of public on QuickBooks, which can be done, but maybe not advised from an internal controls and SOX perspective. So maybe Courtney, Wendy, like what are we seeing from like ERP? Are people starting to maybe think about that and approach it the right way instead of the quick and easy kind of slam it in way? What's that look like now?
Yeah, I would say we've seen all kinds of different clients in this perspective. So we have one client that they are just starting out. They are just starting operations. It's really day one for them. So we're helping them pick an ERP function that makes sense right now. Also kind of giving them an understanding of what, once they do grow, what that's going to look like if they need to change. But we've seen just about every ERP system that's out there. But I think it's really important to understand where they are in their current business, operations wise, how far have they started out, really kind of giving them that growth pattern. Like, look, maybe QuickBooks is good for you now, but in 3 years, will it be able to function as you need it, as you grow, and looking into alternatives. So if we get in those early days, we can help them identify what's good for them now, what's good for them later. And we also do a ton of system integration. So when we have, different private equity companies that are acquiring pretty quickly, as you can imagine, they're probably all on different functions. So that integration, really getting them on one system and really understanding what makes sense for them now.
Yeah, and listening to them, right? Yeah. Listening to some of the pain points. we work with a separate group within Armanino to kind of sit down with them and see all the different areas, you know, that their company touches and some of the benefits of each system and things like that. So we try to make that introduction pretty early when we hear those pain points.